As a community, we come together because our goal is the same, which is to improve the lives of others. I think what makes our education stand out is that, we don't really represent ourselves or our own taste level when we put education out for the people. We want them to develop as their own style, own flavor. We're interested in helping you be the hairdresser that you are and improve in the way that you'd like to improve. We're just going to provide content and material to help you get there. What's up, everybody? This is Jesse Linares with the Sammy ArTeam. Here to talk with you a little bit about the razor this afternoon. Lots of myth and mystery surrounding the razor, lots of feelings about the razor. But when we realize that it's just a blade on a stick, there's a lot more we can do with it. Just taking away that connotation, reinventing the tool to become something else. Lots of stuff going on this weekend. Thank you for joining us for The Show Must Go On, our first ever live interactive hair show. It all started when we had to give up ABS Chicago. It's one of our favorite shows, and we really, really like Chicago. So we were bummed, and we decided, hey, they say we can't go. Guess what? We're going to do it anyway. So here we are. We're doing 40% off samvia.com site-wide. 10% of all sales will be going to PBA's COVID-19 relief fund. Please make sure you get involved with that. Payment plans are available. If you would like to finance your item, we'll help you do that just to get it in your hand. Our friends over at Pivot Point, who are sponsoring us this weekend, are doing 15% off mannequins, 20% off their tripods, which is a great deal. I've had my tripod for almost 10 years now, still going strong. And we are going to be giving away some stuff to you just for being here today. A razor trio with the tools we'll be using, and then also some lovely Redken product, their new bleach recovery line. Has biotin in the shampoo and conditioner. I used a little bit on the babies we'll be using today, and their hair has never been so silky. So even if you're not blonded hair, biotin is really great to make anybody's hair just feel a lot better. Thank you, Redken, for everything you've done for us and for me personally as well. So we got a lot to talk about here. We're going to be getting lots of comments as we go through. Please ask questions that are relative to the content so I can answer them. We'll pick a few every now and then and get those answers out to you. If it's pressing, put it out there. We want to talk. So we're going to be looking at doing a razor bob today. Why did we choose the bob? Just because it's a staple haircut. All of us need to do this and be able to do this to work behind the chair. And so I'll show you some very simple sectionings with some mild disconnection and detachment, nothing super noticeable. You can tell that there might be a little bit of float to this, but the detachment and the razor cut is not something that just flies into your face and says, look at me. We have a lot of myth and mystery about the razor. I used to be terrified of it. I didn't even know why until my mentor put one in my hand and said, just go for it. So we're going to talk a little bit about a guarded razor today. We'll be using ours. This is our Sammy razor. It's awesome chromium plated body, so it's very resistant to stains and corrosion. It's got a swivel stick. That way you can keep your finger locked in the ring if you want to, and then move the razor to where you would like to use it. So now, why razor cutting? We haven't seen one in a while. There really hasn't been a razor cut that is dominating the industry and dominating trends right now. And in our business, if you've been in it long enough, you know. If you haven't heard from it in a minute, get ready because it's about to be breathing down your neck, right? So here's a way that we can do a staple haircut using the razor and just talking about its fundos, emphasis on fun, and then getting into a very easy salon cut. So now you can take a look at what I've done here. I already started just a little bit. The first couple of sections on the mannequins, sometimes the hair is a little bit fussy when it's shorter, so I wanted to go ahead and cut those two sections and blow dry them in. But what we're basically going to be doing is working with a little bit of inspiration from foundational breakdown, which if you were in our first segment this morning, we talked about that. Basically, it's a way that we can get into the head form, break it into its major parts, and then make our haircuts more organized and easier to get to. So like we talked about breakdowns earlier too, they're merely pathways to an end result. You know, you might choose a different breakdown depending on the kind of cut that you want to do. So we're going to take some inspiration from our foundational breakdown here, and we're going to work primarily with the two partings that happen at these horizontal transitions, or the so-called cornerbacks on the head. We're also going to take a parting down the center, which you can see that we already have. And then the rest of the setup is just like in our previous cut. That center back parting is going to follow until it connects to the natural parting on the front of the guest's head. So once again, not going dead down the middle as we sometimes are taught, but then to work around the natural parting that the guest has given us. Here's a question. Does that razor use the regular feather razor blade refills? These are actually proprietary blades made by us. I have in a crunch jammed a feather blade in there, but the spine on it's made out of metal, and then our handle's made out of metal. Just be careful, you might not get it back out. We definitely recommend our blades, which are nice and long. They're double-sided, which allow you to have that opportunity to turn the blade around when you get done with it. Our blade, generally, we're going to favor one end of the razor over another. Personally, I tend to live kind of up towards the front. So when it starts getting a little bit chatty, you know, making that sound, then I'll turn the blade around and put it back in there. Some blades don't give you that option, so that's good to have. Definitely recommend our blades. So working with the partings that happen here at the horizontal transitions, or the so-called cornerbacks, we're going to place our comb just flat against the side, and then take our hand, or another comb if you'd rather do that, flat against the side of the head. The back on the side, where they make that corner, that intersection, we're going to draw a vertical line right there. From that vertical line, we're going to carry it all the way up into the crown. And that's going to bring us about there. Let me just turn her to me and take a check. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's see. Let me get her turned right. So once we have this first section, which carries us up to the top, we're just going to put that away. Initially, before this pre-cut, that line just went all the way down to the bottom there, and then we worked our way up there, which I'm about to show you. Linda has a question. Do you change your blade every cut? Yes, sometimes twice. And I make sure to do it in front of the guest as an aside. You know, when I pick this thing up, pop out the old blade and put a new one in there. It sends a very silent message, but effective message to the guest that, hey, this is sanitary, this is just for you, and I'm not skimping on the blades. Unit cost after you factor a box in comes to be, you know, just under $1 a blade. So she or he, they're worth it. Go for it. Change those blades out. Going to complete that sectioning here on this other side, right here, finding that corner, and then carrying that parting directly up top. Once I have those two areas, I'm going to put these sides away once again, just for the moment. And there's that. I'm just going to step over here real quick and put a clip on this. So what we did so far was that we cut these first two sections, which I'll move her out of the way and you can see right here. We started at the hairline and then working those diagonal forward partings. The parting is designed to mimic the intended pathway of your perimeter. Let's get her like this a little bit. So you can see how when that line moves forward, if I bring it down here, that's going to be the line that we scribe for our perimeter. So your sections are going to be parallel to that idea. Just keeps us organized as we move all the way up the head. So we're going to take our first parting here. We'll take about an inch section. Those two sections already, we're done, 1 and 2, very quickly, and then blown dry into place. The advantage of that is it's just going to let us see this haircut a little bit better as we move our way up. Sometimes when you cut that and it starts to air dry a little bit on the mannequins, if you go too short, the hair can get just a little fussy on you, and it'll want to poke off the head a little bit. So that just prevents us from having to see that. First two sections away, I'm just going to use one clip for them both, right there. Now then we're going to continue this parting all the way forward, just following the same line. And there we go. Now we're on the sides of the head. This little bit of hair, that's what I love about our foundational breakdown, is that it puts this piece of hair where it truly lives, which is the side of the head, which in the past, I would always refer to that as the back. A lot of times in my bobs, I would find myself over directing this hair backwards to make it meet a cutting line that I had designed at the back of the head, when actually that hair belongs on the side. So eventually, that over direction, I began to realize, was leading to a buildup of weight behind the ear. That big villain that we always have to go back and deal with back here. Either we put the hole back there, or we're too afraid of putting the hole back there and we build too much weight. And we always end up taking our blending scissor back and taking care of it. So we're just going to look at dealing with it where it actually lives, side of the head. Okay, first cuts. We're going to follow this line that we've created. Our finger angle and finger position, or finger rotation, if you'd have it that way, will be parallel to the parting. What I don't want to do is to bring my fingers in, and this happens quite often. You can see the line that we've created right there. The fingers should be parallel to that line. If I'm not paying attention, sometimes I can drop. Actually, when this happens for me is when she's got the shoulder there. I'm using a shear that's big, and I'm trying to work it over that shoulder to make room for myself. I'll end up twisting my hand a little bit just to get the blades up there. And when that happens, I'm getting unwanted elevation at the extremes of this section. So when we bring our elevation up, we're going to use 90 degrees to the head form, meaning wherever I'm at on the head, we're going to go 90 degrees from that point. So that's going to look something like this. Down here, the elevation was lower. That is a vault boy. Thanks for noticing. Fallout 3. 90 degrees here, 90 degrees here. And as we move up the head, we're going to see 90 degrees reflected in different ways. So 90 degrees up from the head, I'm going to make sure that my first cut is slightly detached or slightly disconnected from this here. Here's my first length that happened at the top of that subsection. If I bring this and blend to it, then I'm going to start to perfectly mimic the round of the head as I move around. It won't build that length and weight out this way. So with just a little bit of slight detachment, I'm going to allow that to get a little bit longer and build its weight out this way, as opposed to rounding up with the head. All right, a little more moisture here. We prepped our lady today, Mrs. Lydia here, with a little bit of Redken's One United, one of my favorite super primers, I call them. They're not just a primer. It's not just a leave-in conditioner. It's just so much more. Hard to categorize anymore. All right, so first section. There's the guide I had from before. It lands about there. I'm going to want to come out maybe an inch past that, keeping my elevation at 90 degrees. Here comes the razor now. I'm going to bring this up vertically since I'm cutting towards my left. So in my right hand, I'm going to work this like so. What's the perfect blade angle? That's the thing. No one can really tell you that for sure. We know that it's going to live somewhere in that range of about 30 to 45 degrees, depending on the very unique movements of your body and your razor. So just know it's somewhere in there, 30 to 45 degrees. Just find that great spot that you're looking for, where the hair just melts away in front of you. You don't feel like you're really having to work it too hard. When I'm razor cutting, I chase that feeling, just looking for that good feeling where the hair is removed and feels right. There goes my guide. I'm going to drop past that about an inch. Blade comes up vertically, parallel to the hair. Notice that if the section moves this way, the blade is coming up directly against it, perpendicular. So I don't want to be on top of it, which will be putting graduation or layers on. I don't want to be underneath it, because that's going to be undercutting. I just want to take off the weight and length with nice medium strokes. Medium stroke for me in this case, I'm saying spans about an inch, taking plenty of bulk off the ends there, but not going so much that it starts to look stringy. So that's our first section down. Now we're going to turn this and chase our way into the side. We're going to take a little teeny piece of the hair that we just cut, which is right there, move this around this way. Bring this up just a little bit. I'm going to try and turn just so we can get a little bit in there. Someone said they couldn't see too good. So there's my guide, and I'm going to get right on top of it. Once again, keeping your shoulder low, making sure that the blade comes in perpendicular to the section and working across. About an inch longer than that. Kind of rolling your finger up as you go, and that'll close the gap between your fingers and allow you to get what Mr. Philip Barwick calls the finger mohawk. He's from Australia. Amy says, what kind of hair would you not do this on? Well, I'll give you a personal opinion. I don't like to believe in absolutes. So, to say you just can't do it to this or you just can't do it to that, as soon as you say absolutely not, someone out there is going to do it and make a success story of it. What I'll say is this, use caution. Read the canvas or the fabric that you're working on. If it's very fine hair, then you may want to make your strokes a little bit shorter and not quite as long. That, like Sammy says, the ends need friends. So I don't want to go in there and take off so much hair that it starts to look stringy. With very coarse hair, you may get a little more permission to go a little bit longer. A lot of people say that on hair extremes, that you would avoid these kind of things. I've done it on just about every kind of texture, and I would say carefully and with love, go for it. As I'm getting older and becoming a little more seasoned as a behind the chair hairdresser, I'm starting to realize that it's really just about you and them. A lot of the rules that I used to believe in, I don't really believe so much. That if you can find someone to say yes, if you want to do it, go for it. We used to make up so many rules about stuff, and then things like Elevate Hair and certain other organizations that are the youth class that are just shredding all of our ideas about what is prim and proper in haircutting. So never say never. Working vertically, perpendicular to my section. I don't want to get all diagonal on it because I'll be putting graduation or layers on the hair instead of just removing length and weight. So last section on this side, and I'll come past a little bit, and then perpendicular to that section. All right, and we can see that shape starting to sit in there a little bit. We're not going to use the blow dryer for this segment just because it makes a lot of racket. And so I'll just use your imagination with me and we'll look at the benchmark again. But let me just kind of fluff this into place. Marilyn says, how did you prep the hair? Should the hair always be wet? Well, once again, let me just say, there is no absolute rule. For this today, I did use wet hair for a lot of reasons. Wet hair on the camera, it just shows the sections a little bit cleaner. With razor cutting, wet hair will definitely facilitate a more easy stroke. What I mean to say is on dry hair, what do I do with that? On dry hair, if you hit this thing wrong, it's going to shave off cuticle. So wet hair, just like cutting with scissors or with razor, it's just more pliable. It's going to yield to that blade a little bit easier. I find this to be true, especially when I am working on a longer stroke. Just that fluidity and then the right prep product, whatever you think it might be. I use Redken's One United for today. I personally look for a feeling that's between wet and dry, not so wet that the behavior of the hair is not recognizable anymore, but not so dry that I feel like I'm using a cheese grater on the hair when I put the razor on. Amy says, what do you respond to the client when they freak out when you bring out the razor? Well, most of my clients don't freak out. If they begin to ask you questions, then there's a few things that you can say that will help you earn that right. One of which is you might say the thing that I always say. I'll tell a guest if they are showing some apprehension. They might say, oh, I don't know, I had a really bad razor cut once. And I'm like, well, tell me what you remember being bad about that. 9 times out of 10, it is a dull blade. I mean, literally 9 times out of 10. Tell me what you remember about that cut. Oh, I just felt like it was pulling my hair and I just kept hearing this terrible sound. Well, those are the hallmarks of a blade that needs changing. So if they start to freak out, I just explain, this is something that I'm passionate about. It's something that, kind of good at, not great, but good enough to use the razor. And then I began to tell them what's going to happen if I use the razor on their hair. So generally when I say things like that, what I love about the razor for your particular texture is that if I use it on the razor, it's going to take some of the bulk off those ends. It's going to give us a little more freedom within the shape, whatever terms that you want to use to sell yourself that way. But I've never had it happen to where if I came at somebody with good information and confidence in myself, that they would tell me, you just can't do that. I've never been told no that way. Hope that answers your question. Thank you for that. Okay. It really is about guest communication and how we put our ideas in front of people. The razor has a history, but you might just say, hey, this or that about the razor? I've heard those things too. Here's what makes me different. And then set yourself up for success. All right. While I was addressing that, I just went ahead and set up my next couple sections here. So I'm going to stand right here, get underneath here, and look at our previous section. We're going to have two places where we can check ourselves. Previously cut section is going to show us where we landed last time. So we can make the choice to go a little bit past that if we want to. If we continue to go past it, we're going to be continuing to build that weight out this way. Where's the benchmark? You can definitely see that on her, to where the weight builds out. That we didn't just round with the head, that there's actually a crest in the layers there where they begin and then start to dial under. So wherever you would like that to be. First section, I'm going to elevate up 90 degrees, take a little tiny bit of my previously cut section with me. When I see that guide right there, I know if I want to start blending to it and make the layers shorter, then I can cut it there. Or if I want to continue to build the weight out, I'm going to pull it a little bit past. Now, here's one of those cardinal no-nos, and Jesse says it's okay. If you're using a guarded razor, there's really not a lot you can do to yourself. So don't be afraid to put it in this position if you're going to cut a little bit towards yourself. There are other razors that I would say you might want to think twice about that. If you make a false move with an unguarded blade, it could end up in being a hospital trip. I've got one that's put me in there twice. I love it so much, but it makes me bleed. Is there a need to use an unguarded razor in your hair cutting? I'll say this, probably not. There are certain end results that you can achieve if you use an unguarded razor, but is it absolutely necessary to create razor-looking cuts? I don't think so. The guarded razors that we make now are just so buttery and so smooth, and the learning curve is so short that truly anyone that picks this up is going to be qualified to use it. Now I'm going in perpendicular, cutting a little bit towards myself. Now, I took a lot of razor classes over the past several years.
Jesse,
yeah.
Take your camera and tilt it down just slightly so that they can see a little bit more of the head.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I missed that.
There you go.
I'm 40, and so I can't have the mannequin up here. I didn't realize she was so low. How's that?
That's better.
Cool. They can see her, and then I will step out of the picture, whichever one we'll be grateful for. Awesome.
Yeah, you can move your camera around however you need to show them what they need to see. Good job.
Thanks, buddy. Sorry, everybody.
Carry on.
I get excited. I sometimes forget what's happening. So here we're now on the side of the head, and now we have two places that we can check ourselves. Look, we have the previously cut section that's in the same row as where we're working, and then underneath there, we're going to have the previously cut section from underneath, which you can see that length difference right there, about an inch. So that one lands there. This one comes down over it a little bit. So we're building a little more length and weight out and away from the head. So 90 degrees up from the head there. I see my previously cut section. I'm going to come in over the top. This time I'm going to hold the blade like a pencil. And just like I'm writing a little bit, a love letter to the haircut. Dear haircuts, I'm looking forward to meeting you. So when we get that in there, perpendicular to the hair once again, and then just work your way in a nice medium stroke. Continue on down. 90 degrees is a little bit lower on the head now, as you can see. And that'll take us out right here. Once again, coming in over the top like a pencil. Blade perpendicular to the section. Nice medium strokes. I used to be really scared of razor cutting. Like I said, which razor are you using? I see Samvia makes 3 types. Okay, here's the truth. It is actually just one type. The handle is the same for all of them, but we send you with 3 different blades. So this is the standard cutting blade, or what we call the straight blade. And then it comes with 2 different variations of a sort of a chunking blade or a channel cutting blade. They're pretty awesome. Not for every cut, but when you want to do something a little bit special effects, there you go. The reason we send all 3 to you at once is we got some Rough Riders out there that want to have all 3 blades set up at the same time so they can have them all there. When I bought my trio pack, it was like buy one for me as a backup, give one to a friend. So whatever works for you, somebody's going to win one here today. So working my next section over, let me turn her a little bit to you guys. There we go. There's a little bit of my previously cut section right there, 90 degrees out from the head. And then just working that blade perpendicular to the section right down. Next section, just take a little bit of the previously cut section as a guide right there. Make sure that my finger position or rotation is parallel to that parting. Blade comes in perpendicular to the subsection, and then I begin to cut. And we'll just kind of fuss this into shape and see what's happening a little bit. Like I said, we're not going to blow dry it because it sort of kills the audio, but let's just see where we're cooking to. You can see here's the stuff that obviously doesn't belong, right? We left that in there just because we'll go back and clean it up at the end. At the end, we'll probably take the toe of our razor or the front of the razor and just push that around a little bit. Make sure that it doesn't look super solid and take away any length that we don't need. All right, look at this. Last 2 sections on top. Let me turn her so you guys can see. Here's where we are. This is our little interpretation of foundational breakdown, a center line parting, and then those partings at the horizontal transitions that work their way down that way. 2 little sections that I'm finally going to get to elevate 90 degrees and cut right here. In fact, that might look a little bit big. Why don't we split those into just 2 more sections, about 1 inch for each one. Follow your partings. Never abandoning where the partings are. This is a very easy haircut to follow in the salon, and that's one of the reasons why I like it. Is that in the salon, I get very wrapped up with my clients, what's going on with them. I want to hear their voice, let them talk about their life a little bit. Over 16 years behind the chair, I've really got a special relationship with my guests and like hearing them talk. So I love having haircuts in my holster here that will allow me to get to them without too much complication. Let's get a little bit of this from underneath. So here we are, going up once again, 90 degrees from that place on the head. There's my previously cut section right there. I'm going to choose to go past that just a little bit. The reason I go past it is that I want to continue to build length and weight away from the head and not rounding up into the crown just yet. So getting on my tippies a little bit and taking this cut. Sometimes when I'm doing that, I'll actually get a little of somebody's hair in my mouth and you just power through. Just joking. Well, or am I? Next section. Elevating up 90 degrees from that place. Here we go. There's the hair from underneath. I'm going to choose to go past that a little bit and take it off. And that just fits in the shape nicely. Working this way still. Another click stop on that. So those are those 2 sections right there. And now we're going to work our way. It looks like we have a couple more sections on each side. Could you use shears and maybe point cut this haircut to get the same effect if you can't use the razor on your client's hair? Well, I'll answer that in 2 different ways. First of all, yes, and first of all, no. You won't get exactly the same result if you use shears and a blender shear. Could you emulate that effect and pull it off pretty well to where it would convince just about anybody? Absolutely. You can slide cut from the interior going out to mimic the effect of the razor, and then definitely use a point cut with your blending shear to mimic that effect as well, to just kind of debulk those ends and give them room to breathe. All right, just bringing her on around. Got one more section to make on this side. Here we go. About an inch. And that's going to leave us with about one more section here before we bump up to the natural parting right there. So that's been one of my big mantras behind the chair in the salon lately, is letting everyone have their natural parting and letting that become part of the section plan. I would find myself, doing down the middle partings and then following that protocol, and then at the end having to go back and resection the fringe and do something else entirely. So let it be in the mix. And in a horizontal cut like this that we're doing, setting the parting in and then cutting to it actually resolves the very natural asymmetry that we would want to have happen in that shape, because the asymmetrical parting, or the guest choosing to wear it asymmetrically, is making the haircut that we might have cut symmetrically asymmetrical, if that makes any sense. Let me try that again, is that we cut a symmetrical shape on someone, but then as soon as they move that parting off the center line, they're choosing it to wear it asymmetrically. So this is a way that we can create the asymmetry for them. That way they don't have to make the haircut look lopsided. Nice medium strokes. But definitely get behind the razor, guys. And by guys, I mean ladies and gentlemen. Make sure that you're in the mix, because it's just a matter of time before someone's going to bust out a razor cut that we're all going to want to be able to do. I remember the last haircut that I feel like really set things in motion like that was Victoria Beckham's little posh bob that she wore. That thing was truly unique for its time, and then also created a whole lot of imitations and education too, which is good for us. Okay, working our way down. Making sure that we stay 90 degrees to the head. It's really easy when the shoulder has to get involved for us to get a little lazy. So make sure, I might have to buy myself a little box to stand on to try this next time. Having this mannequin here, I'm going up on my tiptoes, making sure that I'm staying 90 degrees. Here comes the razor perpendicular to the section, and nice medium strokes. Push that down into shape. All right, we're working our way up to the top. Here we go. Last sections here in the crown. And these are going to come way up now. That's going to be their 90-degree position from there. So I'm going to extend that past the guide, which you can see falling out now. And then I'm going to hold this like a pencil, but going up, and then make my strokes. Good tension is required for this movement. If you have a lot of slack in the hair, it's going to push away from you. So I made about half the cut, and then the tension between my knuckles gave out a little bit. So I've resectioned so I can get that last little bit and just make it perfect. Same one over here. Now this one, I want the blade motion to move that way. So I'm actually going to get underneath it like this and point it where the blade's moving up, like so. I'm going to lower my body, making sure that my finger position is still parallel to this parting. Lower my body, get underneath, perpendicular to the section, and then make my cut. Hang on, lost my tension there. Here we go. Work perpendicular to your section right there. That way you're taking away length and weight and not reinserting layers or undercutting, which would mean we were going a little too far this way or this way. Laurie says, I think it's hard to do a 5 to 6 week trim up on a razor cut. What's your suggestions? That's a good one, because everyone that I razor cut is not razor cut every single time. Sometimes I'll admit I work behind the chair, I'm goofing off a little bit, having a blast. Sometimes my hand gets a little bit heavy and I might over texturize. I might put a little bit of shred factor on somebody. They still love me and they're coming back for more. But next time I see them, I may go after it with more of a point cut, slide cut idea, or using the blending shear like someone mentioned a little bit ago. You don't have to do the exact same thing every single time. No. So the guide from the back determines the length around the face. Would it defeat the purpose of this cut? cut the perimeter first. You absolutely could cut the perimeter first, depending on just how important that detail is. So our model here, the dream situation that we created for her is that she sits down. She's Lydia from Pivot Point. She rolls, does whatever. So she's going to say, guys, do whatever you want. But if someone comes in and says, I only want you to take half an inch off my length and I want it to tilt like this, then you may want to go in and set that perimeter first, and then your sections would be very easy to see where they belong because the implied line or the perimeter is already set. We were using those sections kind of imagining the way that it would go. If you already set it there first, there would be no mystery. So go for that. Awesome questions, you guys. Thank you so much. Last section here on the left side, I'm just going to subdivide for control a little bit. I have a little bit of the previously cut section here as a guide. Elevating this up once again. 90 degrees from that place is going to be here. And I'm still going to pull a little bit past the guide just to make sure that we're building a little bit of length this way, like a pencil, blade going up. And then I carry that all the way down, working a little bit lower on the head now. I'm actually on the vertical transition and slightly below. So I'm bringing this in this way. Let me turn her around so you guys can see this cut happen. Here we go. 90 degrees from this place. There we go. One more time. There we go. And blade goes up. Losing tension right there, so I'm going to resection for the final little cut right here. Okay, now this side of the head is complete because we worked our way to the natural parting. Let's just look at the side of this for a second so we can see. Can you show a close-up of how you're holding the razor? Nicole, I will try. My web top camera is right there, and I'm going to try and get as close as I can to it for you. Okay. Now look at this line that we can see on the side of the bob. Let me turn her into the light a little bit. You can see where that implied line is right there. We can see what we're going to want to take off in a little bit. We'll take this over to the other side. Just a few more cuts to make here. Looks like we're doing good on timing. Thank you guys so much for your questions. I don't know if you've ever tried talking to a computer and working on a mannequin in the privacy of your own home, but it is daunting. And I'm a nervous kind of guy to begin with. So the thought of talking to a bunch of people that I can't see sometimes make me nervous. What's up, Andrew?
Hey, I think she was actually asking for you to just kind of like hold the razor in front, like not as you're cutting. Can you just show them? Because that pencil technique that you use is kind of unique. Can you just kind of hold your whole hand up in front of your little
white? I'm actually I'm sectioning this and I'm gonna see if I can bebop it right up to the camera for you.
Sweet.
Here we go. Hold on. I'm going to try. This might get a little weird. Okay. So working our way from the back here. And I'm going to be underneath it a little bit now. So for myself, I'm not much of a guy for putting my finger in the hole. I might just a little bit to grab it, but when I feel like it slips down and I'm holding it like a fist there, I don't really feel in control of it. I don't feel like the razor is very sexy. I don't know if that makes any sense, but when I put it in the hair, I want it to have some fluidity and a nice motion, and I want it to feel like it glides just through. If I have so much of a clamp on it, I feel like it forces me to use so much of my arm. So working this way, I just like to see, the analogy I use when I'm on the road is it's like I think of like the little kid that would hold the pencil and wiggle it like this and be like, oh my God, look, it's bending. So you really don't need a whole lot of tension to control this. The blade is razor sharp, no pun intended. So it's going to do the work pretty easily. The place where you put the most tension, believe it or not, is the hair. If you can get that on the hair, then it's going to give you a sweeter result without having to work the blade as hard. So you can see a lot of tension here. Oh, shoot. Let me bring that up a little. There we go. A lot of tension on the hair itself. And then the blade, I'm just kind of holding it like this. I let that little guy just rest in the little crook of my hand there. However you'd like that to be. I find that that has a really nice purchase, like a really nice grip right there. And then I can just swivel the blade to wherever I want it and work my way. I hope that answered your question, ma'am. Got that right in there. Let me lower her down just a skosh. What's the meaning of the spiders on the arm? Just asking. That is a long story that I would love to tell, but I would feel bad wasting your time right here with that. So short story, I'm a little bit of an animist in life. And so the spiders started as a bad story, but ended up being something about just noticing how we allocate importance of life in accordance to its size. And so chew on that a little bit. Catch me next time we're at the hair show. Buy me a beer and I'll tell you everything about it. Thanks for asking, sir. All right, bringing this up 90 degrees. And now I have to get myself in a little weird position. I'm too short, so I'm right here. I'm gonna bring the blade in over the top like this and work my way out that way. There's no wrong way to attack this, truly. Whatever works for you, whatever makes your guest smile and come back for more. Well, I'm glad you guys all wonder about the spiders. It is a conversation piece. When I first got the tattoos, I wasn't really thinking about that. Every time I go past the automotive section of Walmart, someone's going to hit that arm and ask me what's up. Are you sliding your fingers out as you cut? Christy, good observation. I'm trying not to. I hope I'm not doing it, but maybe I did a little bit. Sorry. Last couple things. You're about another inch. You guys will have to forgive me. I'm going to bring this down a little bit, and I'm going to drop her down. I'm literally having to stand on a box here to get it up. So dropping that head down. Do you have a front hairline guide or not? In this case, no. It's kind of a eyeballing it, like a pert near, as we say in the South, is that I know that I'm following this line down. I know that I wanted to get longer in the front, and I know that at the end of this cut, I'm okay with going in and taking some more off the bottom. So it's very, very forgiving. If you do this cut in the salon on someone and you're trying to do it like we did today without setting the perimeter first, I would say leave yourself maybe a ½ inch longer than you think you should, because with a lot of cuts that are made with the razor, there's usually going to be a little bit of cleanup at the end, some little lingerers or interlopers that have to be taken care of. So especially as you work your way around the hairline. I do this in the salon all the time, and that is always a Sam via ArTeam promise to you, is that if we show you something online or on the road, it's something that we know works because we're using it ourselves and monetizing in the salon with it. I know that's true of Anna and Andrew and myself and Sam. So just know that field tested, client approved, so it works. We go back and blend in the end. Maybe a little bit, but not too much. You know, a lot of what makes the razor cut so great and so unique is that it does kind of have this little bit of like in-your-face feeling to it. In this case, we wanted to just create a classic shape in a way that allows a little bit more looseness on the end. If you're trying this going along with me at home, you know, if you're not used to using the razor, that cut is easy to do, produces a nice result, and also will get you more acquainted with the razor. Most of the razor cuts that I'm teaching these days are designed to get people familiar with the tool, because as an industry, we're just not a lot of razor experts. And so in that moment, I hate that moment when it happens, when a guest comes in with a trendy cut or some picture on Pinterest or what have you, and she's like, can you do this? And you look at it, you know it's a razor cut, and you're like, I can do it with scissors. I can do it like this, you know, and it's not that you can't reproduce the result for the guest or the client, but it's about the feeling that we have at the end of the day. We went home defeated. She asked for this. I couldn't do it. And so there's that critical point where, am I okay with just accepting I can't do it, I won't do it, and I'll just fake it till I make it? Or do we rise up and do we attempt to master these techniques, not only for our own gratification, but for the true discipline and the meaning, which is how we delight our clients, they're the ones that make our world happen. So that's the idea, friends. You know, so we got a little bit of cleanup work to do back there. What I love about this is that where that cleanup needs to happen is pretty obvious. It belongs right about there, and you can see where that shape just turns under and gives it to you. So picking up the benchmark again, we hit that place with her yesterday, and this was the only difference between those two cuts, is that I took the razor and just worked the front of it through there nice and tight and vertically, just cleaning away that line and setting up a nice loose perimeter that has a little bit of movement for us. Let me give you the upside down flip. If you're a fan of that pivot point natural projection idea, there you go. That's what it looks like. And you can see that each section is slightly undercut to the previous. And that's what gives us this nice buildup of weight without looking too fussy and too disconnected, because the sections we were working with were small enough to where you can get away with a small amount of disconnection. And that was the idea. You may have seen me do a haircut like this on the road using only the blending shear, another fun way to create texture. But at the end of the day, guys, just remember that whatever tool you pick up, as long as you're making somebody happy with it, you are doing a good job. Don't let anybody say boo about your work, because only two people's opinion matter, you and the guest. So make sure you're doing good work, and thank you for allowing us to help you out in whatever way we can. What's up, Andrew?
Hi, bud.
Hey.
We have a winner.
All right, who's the winner? Who got that Razor Trio?
All right, so the Razor Trio in the Redken package is going to our friend, I apologize if I messed this name up, Euridia Vargas from Oklahoma.
Nice. Awesome. Congratulations. Keep two for yourself. Give one to a friend.
That would be very nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I wasn't joking about that Redken shampoo, man. That bleach repair system with the biotin, it made these girls feel amazing. I mean, the hair is already awesome, but I just can't stop petting it.
Dude, you're so funny. I love it. Like, so many of the comments that you're getting throughout the last couple of things are just, they love listening to you. They love your energy and like your natural comedy that you bring to things. So thanks for bringing some comedy to the day, dude.
Well, my life is a comedy.
Hey, a couple of things before Jesse wraps up here. We did get kind of an update from Pivot Point. I think they realized that we were having a challenge with the code. If you are looking for the discount on the Pivot Point website, you no longer actually need the code. You can just go. They just changed the prices on the website. So no longer need a code for your discounts on the Pivot Point website. Awesome. So Jesse, they're asking about the head sheets. So I think if you're okay with it, what we can do is we can wrap this up. We do have a video from our friend Suzanne Sturm from Redken that we'll play right after the video. If I could just actually leave your head sheets up for maybe a minute or so. They could take some screenshots or whatever they want to.
Yeah, what I'll do is I've got a couple from this morning as well. So I'll do like 30 seconds on each page and then take them down.
Perfect. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll bring the computer a little closer.
We're going to go ahead and play that video from Suzanne Sturm right now. So stay tuned for that. And then right after the video, we'll have Jesse put it, we'll focus on Jesse's posters so you guys can get some screenshots going.
Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Sturm, the Vice President of Education for Redken US. And there's a quote that kind of sums up what we're all going through today. It's from Einstein. Out of clutter, find simplicity. From discord, find harmony. And in the middle of difficulty, find opportunity. And we at Redken know this is the most difficult time for all of us in our industry. And we want to be that opportunity. So we want you to join us with our education so that we can all know what to do when it's time to go back to business. Remember, we're here for you, and together we can come out of this and be a stronger industry. Remember that Redken loves you, and I love you.
All right, I'm bringing it closer. If anybody wanted to see, here's foundational breakdown first. Whoa.